Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Henrik Hintze and I'm an equity research analyst here at ABG. With me today I have the CEO of Nexam Chemical, one of the companies I cover. Ronnie, would you like to introduce yourself quickly?
Yeah, my name is Ronnie Törnqvist, CEO of Nexam Chemical, as Henrik said.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go ahead and ask you some interesting questions, in my opinion, today.
All right.
So would you maybe just like to start out by summing up how 2024 was like for Nexam Chemical?
Yes, 2024 was a year of, let's say, intensive work on developing our markets, developing our technologies, and at the same time to consolidate and finalize our savings program that we started in the year before, and some, you could say, optimizations of the operational processes and so on in the company. But the main everyday work has been on market development, sales, and the underlying technical development processes behind that.
Yeah, okay, very good. So you had a couple of tougher years in 2022 and 2023. Now in 2024 you returned to growth again, but H2 was a bit weaker. Could you maybe paint us a picture of what the drivers have been during the year, what the market has done, and where you feel the market is now?
Yeah, we have had one or two of our biggest customers that have had a tough year in 24 too. And that hurt a little bit our sales development, especially in the second half of the year. So you could say the base business decreased quite a bit, but then on the other hand we had a lot of initiatives that started to roll and new business coming in. So in the sum we got a small growth, you could say.
Yeah. All right. So if we turn our eyes forward a bit, how do you think that the market will continue to develop in 2025? And do you see any difference in the development you expect between your two segments, chemicals and mass manufacturing?
Yeah, well, we still see that the first quarter feels a little bit like the end of 24, that the general order levels are not taking off really, in spite of lower interest rates and so on. A couple of the customers are still struggling with their volumes, but we also continue to build new business. So that's how the year started. And depending now how this let's say, business goes for our running serial production customers, it will decide a little bit how the floor develops. But as I always say, we work on what we can affect, and that is finding new business and not losing any. So and I feel that we have a lot of momentum in that process. And depending on how fast those reactions go, we'll see exactly when it will hit the top line. But it feels quite positive.
So speaking of what you can affect, what have you kind of been doing more concretely to improve sales growth that is kind of independent of the market environment? And do you see any areas of improvement there where you could do more?
Yeah, coming back to our four segments in the master batch segment or color and aesthetics, we are continuing to grow quite a unique position in being the go-to expert when they want to include recycled materials. We see a lot of interesting initiatives there. The number of color matches which we measure is the number of, so to say, test projects we have in that field is on record high levels in October and November of last year, and not the same in January. So that one is underlying growth, but it's not fast moving because there's a lot of running business in the base there. But we see positive development there, definitely. We increase our, you can say, market share in the lightweighting or foam segment by putting new additives on the market, solving new problems in that field. And we are in recycling, it's kind of the hottest melting pot of new projects and initiatives where we see a lot of action ongoing and a lot of interest from new customers. We had like double number of paying recycling customers 24 compared to 23, and it continues to develop really well. And in the high temperature segment, which is more stable because the projects are quite long, we see an increasing interest, especially this year, I would say, from customers that are interested in developing European solutions for high temperature composites and so on. So all the business areas are quite boiling, so to say.
All right, and your gross margin has improved for 8 quarters in a row. It went from below 40% to above 47% in the most recent quarter. Could you just remind us of what you've done there, how you've achieved that, and whether the current level is what we should sort of expect going forward?
Yeah. The reasons for us to take this step change from below 40 to below 50 is mainly due to insourcing of production in our own machineries, investments that were carried out in 21 and before. And the second big effect is that we have done a retake on our recipe costs. So when you make an additive master batch, you have a recipe for it, and we've been, detecting where our weak points is in the cost structure of that, and done actions to improve it. So those are the two biggest points, I would say, that led us to this. And the level we are now with the product mix that we have and the pricing on the market and so on, I feel that we are quite confident that we can remain approximately at this level going forward. It will be a product mix question, of course, but yeah, approximately there.
All right. Yeah. So with the current gross margin and sort of the volume you have now, you were profitable on EBITDA in 24, but you still have a tiny bit to go on EBIT to reach profitability. Are you sort of happy with the current cost base, and will volume be the main driver that gets you to profitability from here, or anything else?
Yeah, we feel that it's within our reach, fairly short term, to come into the volume numbers that will put us on the right side of the EBIT borderline, so to say, and to continue from there. If we were to reduce, let's say, fixed cost even more, we would start to reduce our ability to develop the market and technology sufficiently fast. So we don't want to do that. And since we feel that the volumes are coming in the right direction, our decision right now, at least, it's a dynamic world, but it's really to try to maintain this cost basis, keep a very strict control on the cash, and to continue to work on volume development.
Yeah. All right. So with volume being the main driver from here, could you just give us an overview of what your production capacity looks like at the moment, what the utilization is there, and also maybe how easy or difficult it is for you to switch between production of different products in your offering?
What you can say is that we have several production locations, right? We have where the headquarters is in Lomma in South Sweden. We have this production location where we make a certain number of products. We can make similar products in our subsidiaries in Hungary and Poland, and we make specialty chemicals in Scotland. And all of those capacities are utilized to approximately slightly below 50% of the actual machine capacity. So we have fair room in our production system to increase quite a lot without putting any production externally.
Yeah, all right. And given that you managed to get volumes up, if we take a longer term view, what do you think is sort of a reasonable EBIT margin for a company in your line of business to end up at when you're at a normal utilization rate?
Yeah, if we look at that, we are 200 million per year, and then we're utilizing 50% of our, let's say, machine capacity. Of course, we do not man up for 100%, we man up for 50. We could, and then at this level, we are slightly below the break even on EBIT. So, and then we see that with the product mix we have approximately, when we are about gross contribution of 47-48%. We have about 35% that comes to bottom line with increasing volumes. So you could say in that case, if we go to 350-400 million, like full utilization of machine capacity without doing such investments, you can easily calculate that, then the EBIT margin would land somewhere between 10 and 15%, and I think that would be reasonable to achieve. Absolutely, it's possible to do it. And we are planning and working on daily to bring us from 200 to 300 level and then beyond that, of course. And then to go above that limit of somewhere 350-400 million, then we need to start to invest somehow in order to continue growth.
Yeah. All right. So going back to your four sort of focus areas, high temperature, aesthetics, lightweighting, and recycling. Could you just tell us a bit more about what's happening there, and maybe how do you expect these different areas to grow? Which will grow faster and which will be more sort of stable from here?
Yeah, you could. If we start with high temperature, we are in a fairly constant mode of production. It's regulated by very complex systems. It's airplanes and the like, and you could say electronics, supply chain systems that don't move so fast. So there we can only count with a steady, slow, long-term growth, a few percent per year, 10% maybe, or 20 if we're lucky. Some years. We have an opportunity though to grow engineering sales in that segment, to participate in development of next generation products and so on. So that could maybe give more on that. If you look at the structural foam business, there is a big portion of that which will be following the market up or down, whether it goes well on the end markets or not. But we are taking a lot of initiatives to bring added value to all our customers, thereby providing even better additives, making their product more competitive either technically or at lower cost, the same product at lower cost. So I think that we are advancing our positions there, and then we will be in a more opportunistic situation when that market takes off, you could say. And then on the aesthetics and color business, we see that it's a lot of dynamics, a lot of positive things happening there, but the growth rate above 10% in that segment would be quite extraordinary on top of the general economy variations. Of course, that can be much more than that. And then for the recycling segments, we have, the percentage numbers are very high. It was doubling last year to the year before. We have doubled the number of customers in that field, 24 to 23. And I'm sure we will at least double it in this year too. But it's kind of getting out from being small and very marginal in terms of product sales to something that becomes important for us this year. That's what's happening this year. And I hope that a lot of the initiatives that look very likely also will become concrete this year, and that we'll see significant also in terms of numbers in that field.
Yeah. Very interesting. Do you see any differences between the gross margins in these different areas, both at the moment and maybe longer term?
Yeah, we see also within the segments we see different gross margins depending on the product and its uniqueness and so on. There is a tendency that the high temperature materials have a little bit better gross margin, but also because we make everything from zero, very basic chemicals. And then there is an obvious difference in the gross margins in the color business. If you make very small volumes, you have a very high gross margin because then the setup cost needs to be covered, so to say. Or if you take a big volume job there, then it will be a much lower gross margin. But in general, you could say that they are all between 40 to 55 range. Tendency is that the product mix is going to a more favorable mix for that, but it's slow moving.
All right, very good.
And also, like we have said some time before, Henrik, also in recycling, where we have patented and very unique materials, we cannot charge an enormous price, because then the business case disappears for the customer. So we need to make sure that the prices that we have on the market always provides the customer to have a good business case when he uses our material. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So beyond your sort of production part of the business, you also have quite an extensive research organization. Anything you want to highlight there and what you're focusing on at the moment, research-wise?
Yeah, well, we see that there is a few trends that we try to understand better. There is, for example, in recycling of textiles, there's a lot of polyester textiles that are to be recycled, and it's very difficult to use recycled polyesters in new textiles. So there we're putting in quite an initiative to find better additive solutions to promote such recycling, which we think would be big. We also believe that the advances in food-approved material recycling other than PET, which is already existing, is a coming field, and we try to be on the front line of that and see which opportunities we can grab there and how we can help, so to say, community with that. And then there are really interesting innovations taking place in the high temperature field with novel type of materials that we developed in collaboration with other companies and universities in the UK this year, where we see that this could change a little bit the scenarios what could be done in the high temperature field next year. And then our fantastic color lab guys that have learned a lot about how to recolor recycled ugly gray materials to nice customer colors.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Ronnie. That's all we have time for today. And thank you all for listening.
Thank you. Thank you.